and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming them both with a huge round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, the conversations continue here at the second CNBC-TV18 Global Leadership Summit. You know, we were talking about some pretty awe-inspiring numbers there for the capital markets, but all of that dwarfs in comparison to the kind of investments that are being made in the AI ecosystem. Let me just throw some numbers for you. Sam Altman tweeting this morning saying we expect to end this year above $20 billion in annualized revenue run rate and grow to hundreds of billions by 2030. We're looking at commitments of about $1.4 trillion over the next 8 years. That's just OpenAI, and that gives you a sense of what is happening in the AI ecosystem today. Oliver, it's wonderful to have you join us here at the Global Leadership Summit. Thank you so much for making time for us here in India and joining us here this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, you've spent a few days in Bengaluru. You're here in Mumbai. Oliver, before I talk to you about India, I want to understand from your vantage point as an insider how you see 2025. From the outside, many of us believe that 2025 has in fact been an inflection year as far as AI adoption is concerned. How do you as an insider see 2025 from the OpenAI perspective?
I think 2025 indeed was quite an inflection year for us and for the industry. 2025, I'd say, in many ways, is the year we will remember as the year AI went from the chatbot era into the intelligence era. It's hard to believe that ChatGPT launched less than 3 years ago.
It's your third anniversary this month, I believe.
Exactly, exactly. It's not even 3 years, but soon. All right, we'll blow out the birthday candles, the 3 birthday candles soon.
But happy birthday in advance.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But when we first launched, most people experienced AI from the perspective of chat. It's a chatbot. And it was already this marvelous experience that people have. And incredibly, when you look at what has happened in just such a short period of time, now with AI, AI is not about giving you just responses, helping you with search results. AI is actually doing tasks for you. It's actually completing tasks, is really thinking about what reasoning, right, through like what you really need. And then when you think about ChatGPT, what we're very excited about, our company and products, is actually moving up the layer now, and really ChatGPT becoming more of a platform. And so you'll see more of that
I want to push you a little bit more on this transition from being a chatbot to now becoming perhaps a platform, virtually an operating system, an AI operating system. What will this transition entail, and what can we expect now as far as the future is concerned?
Yeah, well, one thing for sure is I think you can see continued rapid adoption. Right? For us, we now have over 800 million weekly active users. Right? You see, we recently crossed 1 million businesses that are adopting our technologies. And so this is just a start. Right? I think when you see our products becoming more of a platform, that just introduces many, many opportunities. Let me give you a couple of examples. We recently launched an apps SDK. So this is an ability for developers to publish applications in ChatGPT. What that means is a startup like a Zomato, right, can actually build an application and enhance their customer experience by building that experience into ChatGPT and take all their actions within ChatGPT. So what that does for companies, it gives them much more access to distribution, right, and leverage the fact that we are growing our user base, right? And a lot of that is India. A lot of that growth is powered in India.
You know, let's talk about India, because you look at international markets for OpenAI. India, did it surprise you, the kind of adoption rate that you've seen in India? It continues to be your second largest market outside of the US today, right?
Yes, absolutely. The momentum we see in India is incredible. It is indeed and still will be. I don't know, maybe not forever.
Maybe surpass the US?
Not sure when, right? Not sure if, but I can tell you one thing for sure. We're seeing tremendous growth. The growth in India we've seen it has tripled has tripled year over year. And so we're seeing a lot of that growth. And what's interesting about India, I have the opportunity to fly around the world and meet with governments and businesses and developers around the world. You're seeing AI being adopted in all facets of society here. Right? I was in Bangalore. We held a developer day there. We had incredible. There's this energy, right, that you really don't get in any other places where there's a hunger to adopt frontier AI. Right? We highlighted companies like NVIDIA and Eternal and Emergent, and these are developers that are building products that, in their categories, I would say, are in the frontier of their peers around the world. And so you're seeing massive adoption developers. In the last couple of days, I've been in Mumbai, and we're having conversations with enterprises and businesses, and they too are starting to go on this journey.
So if I were to read between the lines of what you're saying, you're almost suggesting that India is inspiring OpenAI and the work that's being done at OpenAI. Would that be a fair statement to make?
That is absolutely the case. Absolutely the case. I think a couple things that's really interesting for us when we think about India. We fundamentally believe that you build for India, you can build for the world. Right? India is really leading the adoption of sort of next generation. When you think about the population mix between 18 and 24 years old, right, that is a booming sector in India. And we have a very keen eye on how is that population using AI, using ChatGPT.
How different is the Indian consumer versus some of the other international markets or versus the US in this 18 to 24 demographic? We were chatting before we came up on stage, and I said, my generation still uses ChatGPT more like a replacement for Google. We're still searching on ChatGPT. We're not looking for companionship. We're certainly not having conversations. What about you, Oliver? Are you having conversations? Are you looking for companionship?
I think that you're right. That the younger generation, right, they're using AI as really a true assistant, and in a couple areas. In India, for example, education, right, that use case is very popular, and we see students using ChatGPT to learn better and drive better learning outcomes. And so when we thought about building the product for students, so we have something called study mode, right? What people might not know is we sent our user researchers to India to actually learn, right, from sitting down with students and see how are they using ChatGPT to learn. And that's why we built study mode, and that was the inspiration. It was actually from India.
And what was the big insight from that research that you did here in India that helped you develop and design study mode better?
The insight there is students are not necessarily looking for the answers. They want to understand how to get to the answers and really think about what is the chain of thought. How do you actually go through the steps, right? And critically think about how to solve a problem. And so study mode is a very interesting and popular. It's the most popular in India, not surprisingly. It's because it is built where you ask it a question and it won't answer for you. It will prompt you like a real teacher would. Right? So you ask it be really simple, right? What's 5 times 5? It won't tell you 25. And it'll say, okay, here's a pattern, 5, 10, 15, what might be next? So that is that user insight came from India.
Speaking of India, you've decided to go free in India. You launched ChatGPT Go, but you've decided now to make it free and accessible to people who want to use it. Why? Did you want to consolidate your market presence in India, continue to build on the first mover advantage, or do you believe that there isn't the capacity to pay at this point in time for the large user base that you want to collect?
I'm really glad you brought up ChatGPT Go. That's another example where India was inspirational for us. So when we listened to our users in India, what we learned was a lot of users wanted access to the frontier versions, right, of AI, but they needed it to be more affordable, more accessible. And so we've made a lot of investments to make sure that our products can be accessible and affordable in India. In fact, just the other day, we announced a benchmark called QA, And this is a first of its kind benchmark that improves the ability for models, not just in terms of the Indic languages, but also understanding culture. Right? We worked with like over I don't know how many hundreds of experts in India, right, to actually help to teach the models, right, to understand deep context, cultural context. That's usually not just black and white answers. ChatGPT Go is another example where we wanted to make it more affordable, and given that our mission is bring AI, right, the benefits of AGI to humanity, to everyone, that aligns very well with the India AI mission. And in light of the Global AI Impact Summit being held in India
next year,
right, we wanted to make sure that our frontier models can be accessible to as many people as possible, whether you're a housewife, a student, a farmer in rural India, right? That was the inspiration.
You know, you talked about ChatGPT Go, but you also gave us another number there, 1 million as far as enterprise customers are concerned, and of course that's a global number. What's the enterprise adoption in India? How do you see the enterprise side of the business growing for you here?
Unsurprisingly, there's a tremendous amount of interest. Right? I think that part of that might come from the engineering strength that we have in India. But I can tell you that the energy and the interest is very, very palpable. And I've had a very, very busy couple of days. And a lot of it is because I'm meeting with a lot of enterprises that are leaning in, they're asking the right questions, how to deploy AI responsibly and in a way that really transforms how enterprises operate.
You know, Oliver, globally, what OpenAI has done in this year is sign up billions in deals with various companies, whether it's NVIDIA, AWS, Oracle, and of course, you've seen the Microsoft restructuring go through as well. You know, how much of the AI infrastructure ecosystem are you willing to build out and bet on in India? What would be the route to being able to do that? Are you in conversations with the government? Are you in conversations with private players at this point in time? You know, explain to me what aspirations you have from an AI infrastructure point of view for India.
Yeah, trust me, if it's hard to keep up with headlines, it's hard for us internally to keep up with the headlines as well, and it's easy to get caught up in it all.
Do you have an agent just tracking all the OpenAI headlines for you?
That is a fantastic idea. I'm going to do that. Good thing is with our technology, I could build that within 2 minutes.
I would imagine.
And I can share that with you. I think the important thing here is understanding our philosophy and our perspective. So based on the trends that we see, based on what we see coming and emerging in our labs, based on, you asked earlier around enterprise demand. Enterprises, there's an abundance of workloads and use cases that AI can transform. So based on all that, we see tremendous demand, tremendous opportunity, and we think the risk of not having enough compute is far greater, right? Far greater than having too much. And so this is really the reason why we're very, very excited that we have, it's not just us, right? That we've been able to build an ecosystem and a coalition of like-minded partners who also see what we see, which is we have to be ready for the future, and we think that that the next couple of years will be incredibly exciting on that front.
You know, while we're talking about what this could mean in the long term, and I think there is consensus that this is going to be pretty transformative in the long term, I think the more relevant question that's being asked today is what happens in the near term to the medium term, and that was being discussed in the previous panel as well. Valuations, are we in bubble territory? Are we close to bubble territory? You know, from the inside, what do you make of the debate on valuations as far as AI is concerned today?
From the inside, we're just laser focused on deploying the AI to companies, right? What I can tell you is the demand is across every sector, every geography, and I can also tell you that these companies are starting to get real value from their investments in AI. And you're seeing this, you'll see this in their top line. You can
Is
see
the
this in
return on
bottom line.
investment starting to show?
Absolutely, you can see this. We can see it in the projects, right? And I think this is why AI is so powerful, is because it's really the first time with software where the time to value is so short, right? You can think about companies that we work with many companies on on customer support, for example, is a very mature use case now. If you have a B2C company, right, and you swap out the previous deterministic type of models with a frontier AI model, your NPS could jump. You know, one of the biggest airlines in the world, their NPS jumped from 40 to 75 overnight, right? And so that's immediate value. Increases customer retention, satisfaction, experience. And so that is really why you're seeing this adoption, is because it's not just a tool, right? It really is driving real ROI. And I always tell companies, if you're engaging on an AI project and there's no real ROI, you're engaging in the wrong project. But I can guarantee you, every company, you can find at least 2 to 3 use cases that you should be able to materially improve either top line or bottom line.
You know, you called out customer service as one of the use cases where we have seen a degree of maturity emerge. Which are some of the other use cases that you believe are on the inflection point of being able to deliver the kind of value that customer service, for instance, has done?
You know, back to my comment around learning from India, coming out of this trip, I am more confident than ever before that commerce can be an incredible vertical and it can be transformed by AI. I think
you're experimenting with that already.
We are, and I would say I'm not sure if it's an experiment anymore. Like this is I think the future of how people experience commerce. So a lot of people already come to ChatGPT to learn more about products and understand, do their product research. Gifting is not a strength of mine. It's not one of my love languages. And so every time it comes to my wife's birthday, Christmas, anniversary,
you outsourced it to an agent.
I'm very bad at this, right? Suddenly I've been not bad. And it's because ChatGPT is such a great commerce partner. It's like a shopping assistant, right? And so it makes a lot of sense that I think you'll see more and more of that use case moved into more AI native experiences, both in our apps as well as in the actual, in our actual partners' applications. So I think commerce is something that we're very excited about, and I'm in particular very excited about commerce in India.
You know, I'm going to give the audience an opportunity to chat GPT your questions to us as well. So if anybody has a question for Oliver, do raise your hands. I'll try and get the microphone across to you. But you know, Oliver, since you look at international markets, and while we are talking about the need for harmonized regulation, for uniformity as far as rules are concerned, every jurisdiction is dealing with regulation in its own way. India has just put out its own AI governance framework, and while you will have to comply with whichever government decides to do, does that, you know, how does that impact the fact that you're dealing with different regulations across different geographies? How does that impact your planning as well as your execution?
For us, it makes sense, right? We think we've always taken a stance of engagement. The first person we hired on the ground here, right, when ChatGPT was only like 1 year old, is someone to focus on engaging with government and with policymakers.
And is that why your office is in Delhi and not in Bangalore?
Look, we are hiring everywhere. And yeah, but for us, it's really about engagement. This is a new area, and we think that it makes sense. And so we look forward to working with different governments on multiple areas, right? Policy being one of them, to make sure that AI can be used and benefit society and can be used in a responsible way. And we're doing that everywhere. Yeah, so back to your question, how does it impact? It means that I am collecting more and more airline miles because it just means I have to fly to more places. But these conversations are great because they're very productive, and everybody wants the same, which is getting the benefits of AI.
You know, Prashant, I could see you. I could see you gently raise your hand. So maybe we could get a microphone across to you, and we'll take that as the last question before we close. If we can get a mic across to Prashant. Prashant, you can run up on stage, and that might make it faster if we with that there. Go ahead.
Oliver, thanks very much. Fascinating chat there. You know, in the last panel, there's a lot of hand wringing in India about the fact that we don't have real frontier foundational AI models. It'll be uses of frontier models like ChatGPT, but do you see a roadmap where, with India, with its engineering talent, is able to build a foundational deep tech frontier kind of model? Not exactly another ChatGPT, but something on those lines. What's your sense? You've been here meeting people across enterprises, as you said. How do you see it?
Undoubtedly, I think that my takeaway from being in India the last couple of days is just the talent. Right, the engineering talent is unparalleled, and so much talent, right? And so I don't know the answer to that, but I would not be surprised. I think that India certainly has tremendous talent, and we're a very, very excited to partner with the ecosystem.
So Oliver, let's close by asking you, what could the headline potentially be for OpenAI in India in 2026? ChatGPT?
Yeah, I think it would be, my hope is that the headline is not about ChatGPT. My hope is that the headline should be around how ChatGPT, AI, and our services has actually impacted an incredible swath of the part of the population. And I think that would be the headline we're going to go for. It's not about us. It's about really making sure that India benefits from all the research and the progress we've made in AI.
And we look forward to seeing a lot more of you here in India. Oliver J, many, many thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Oliver J, the MD at OpenAI, looking at international markets, very, very confident about their growth here in India. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Jay and Shireen. That was illuminating, especially, on how quickly this is moving from theory to practice. From intelligence here on Earth, we now turn our gaze to the cosmos, where India's ambitions are soaring higher than ever.
In just 2 years, ISRO has redefined the boundaries